So basically, we are a co-op and we are funded by the National Science Foundation. And we set out to ask the question of what is preventing movements from scaling their impact? It started in 2015. I was part of the Bernie Sanders campaign in 2015, and we were managing their volunteers. We had around 200,000 volunteers. We had 40 different projects. We had 50 Slack groups and 10 Facebook groups and 3 Reddit communities. And no one could figure out what anyone was doing, and it was a mess. And it was really hard to keep people on brand. It was really hard to make strategic decisions. People are constantly redoing the wheel. Just looking for which slide. Okay. And so I set out to ask the question of why? Why is all this technology not solving this problem? So I talked to a lot of people. I talked to the crypto blockchain people at the time who were talking about decentralization a lot. We worked with co-ops. We worked with all kinds of nonprofits. Usually environmental nonprofits are the most kind of movement building focused. And then we got a grant from the National Science Foundation to understand this problem. And what we realized after interviewing over 500 people who were in some way involved in building networks, building movements, building communities, is it's actually two things that prevent our current technology from helping people scale their networks. One is real-time chat as a concept breaks at around a few thousand people. So if you have if your like communication technology is always real time, like if you think of like a chat group or Slack or social media, everything is real time. Everything is like what is happening right now, and everything that's not right now kind of gets buried. And that works if you're like don't have any need to do any kind of coordination or any kind of understanding of context. But if you actually need to coordinate, that breaks at around like a small team. Like a small team that works together all day, every day can use a Slack. That's what it's kind of made for. But if you have like 1,000 people, 10,000 people in a Slack, it's just impossible to know what's happening. So that was one problem that's like a technology problem that we identified. And then the second problem is people need to understand context of the landscape of their network. Let me share this. Promise the theory stuff will be short. I won't spend too much time. Yeah, so basically like this is sort of the best way I can explain this. Like and stop me if it's confusing and we can switch gears if this is too much. But just to kind of try to explain to you what SocialRoots is. If on the x-axis you have real-time communication as like the way that the communication the infrastructure works, and on the y-axis you have siloed, like one organization at a time, versus networked, which is like lots of people that are in different organizations can talk. If something is a silo and real time, that's what chat is. And this is really made for one organization to use at a time. This is why it doesn't scale. This is why it's hard to have conversations across organizations. This is how it's built and how it's sold. It's sold to an organization for the team, usually a small team, to use it. And it works really well for that. And we don't want to replace that. And we love it. We use it internally. It's great. If you have a tool that's real time in communication, but it's not siloed, then basically you have social media. That's when you can talk to everyone. There's no boundaries. You can just talk, but there's no real like organizational structure. You can't really hold on, retain information very well. Um, and so a lot of people figured out like, oh, but we want to have like longer term communication. And longer term communication ends up being done in silos as well. And that's why listservs tend to be kind of the way people end up going. Community portals like Mighty Networks and Circle, um, forums do this. So most communities end up in one of these forums because it actually works a lot better at scale. You can actually keep context. And that's great, but you end up in silos. You end up always having one organization at a time. Am I in your My Networks? Are you in my networks? Are you in my listserv? Am I in your listserv? It's always this negotiation. And as soon as you have more than one project or more than one organization, you can't really coordinate. You're like struggling to scale. You can't really scale. So then we asked ourselves, what does it look like if you build technology that's not real time and also not a silo with the right permissions to enable people to actually grow network maps? And that's what we built. So you can think of us more like LinkedIn than like a chat. So like we are the place you talk if you need to talk across groups. If you need to understand the landscape and you need to like get clarity on the direction of what everyone is doing, that's what we're for. We're like the switchboard before you go into your small team. And let me do a tiny demo. And before I do a demo, does anyone have any immediate questions? So then you might be asking, what problem are you solving for me? This is all great and fine. I'm glad you did your research. What are you doing for me? There's 3 problems we solve. Each one is for a different kind of person in a given network. If you are somebody who's just kind of that, like, I'm going to read stuff, maybe I'll show up to an event. I'm like a participant, but I'm very like loosely engaged. You can stay in email forever, especially if you sign up and log in once. You can then, after that, just respond through your email. So each one of these little note containers is email integrated. So when someone sends this to me in my email inbox, I will see everything. I can open this container without logging in if I want. I can interact with it. I can respond from my email box. I don't even have to log in. I can just reply through my existing email box and it'll get pulled in here. And so this was the biggest thing people asked for. They said, if I'm not very involved, I don't want to log into anything. I don't want to go anywhere. Just send me an email. But I want to be able to interact in that email and I don't want reply alls. I don't want to like, this was the listserv problem. So that's what we built. This is a email integrated note where if someone replies, it all gets pulled into this and this doesn't just send off a bunch of reply alls. They don't have to log in, they don't have to leave it at your mailbox, and everyone can see who's participating, what they're up to, if they said they would do something. So that's the first use case, is for the person who's very loosely engaged. The second thing is for the people that are like running projects. So if you are running a project or like a leader of any sort, you usually will have your own subgroup. And let's say in this subgroup, everyone will see that you're a leader, so they know who to talk to, who's in charge of that project. You get to decide for your little subgroup what kind of chat tools you use. Do you want to be on Slack? Do you want to be on Signal? Do you want to be somewhere else? You can put a note or like a link to where you guys communicate. And here people come, it's almost like a switchboard, right? They come here to go, oh, this is what the projects are. This is the one that I should be a part of. Great, I'm gonna come here. I'm gonna see a history of all the conversations that were relevant for this project. So I don't have to like start from scratch. I immediately know who's in charge, what the focus is, what the key links are, where these people like to communicate, what the most recent conversations have been, or even historical conversations, like what are all the different conversations. So what this enables the subgroup leader then to do is to have a little bit of agency. You can run your own little team. You can start conversations here that are relevant to that team and across the network. You can send information across groups and across subgroups. And you can be seen so that if someone wants to know, what your project is about, you're in the ecosystem. And one of the ways we show them who's in the ecosystem is this like map view, which is and just an integration with a visualization tool. This is basically a view of the back end of our tool, which is like only for people who care about stuff like this. It's, everyone doesn't have to look at this view. Some people get overwhelmed by maps of this sort. But if you're a leader and you're like, I need to know like what organizations are interested in a given topic, you can find that out. So now I know Limicon is interested in convening digital commons, funding cooperatives, and I know if I'm doing those things, I should talk to them. Decentralization. So these are all the little subgroups that this organization or project is in. So this is what enables people to understand the landscape and be able to coordinate with each other without talking to Ben all the time. If Ben is busy and you're like, who do I need to talk to about Lifeboat Academy? You can find them and you can see where Lifeboat Academy is involved in the network, and you can start to get context. Any questions yet? Okay, so those are really the key features of what we offer. So allowing people to see the network landscape of the activity so that when they come into their network, they understand what's happening, be able to find the relevant projects that are relevant to what they want to do and join them easily, and then immediately know who to talk to. So what we want to do together, if you guys think it's something that makes sense for your ecosystem, is kind of work on this, creating this ecosystem for your group. And it looks like Ben actually did a ton of work already. And I also see that a lot of you are in here already. So is anybody currently not in the Lifeboat Academy group? Okay. So that like link that Ben put into chat, all you have to do is click on it and you'll be added. Okay, so that is kind of the context. Ben, is there anything that you wanted to add or anything you feel like I missed?
I think, the thing that is most intriguing to me is this idea that we want to be, a fleet of lifeboats, and we want to be able to enable people to be doing that organizing work in their local community and also stay connected globally, across the network. And in particular, what I'm assuming is, or what I'm hoping is, communities, uh, I think that I'm trying to figure out the right way of saying this is I think that when we organize at a community level, it's very heterogeneous, right? We want to bring together diversity, people with different perspectives, people with different interests. But then we also want to be able to connect people across communities who share a particular interest where you can kind of do the deep dive. So in any local community, just for example, there might be people that are interested in food security and people that are interested in regenerative finance. And you need to make that come together for the local community to work. But then the food security people want to find a way of talking with other food security people about those particular interests. So that was, what has me most intrigued about Social Roots is it feels like it's built to enable that kind of bringing together diversity in the local project, but then allowing people to connect around interest areas at a larger scale. So yeah, that's the context that why I'm most intrigued by it.
Yeah, and maybe this is a little bit, am I still sharing screen? I can't tell. Yeah, okay, great. This might have been like kind of unclear, but so the Lifeboat Academy is a group and it's made up of subgroups. But if you create another group, it is not under the supervision of Lifeboat Academy. It's an autonomous, independent group. So like that's different because in Slack, if I join your Slack, it's your Slack. And even if I create another channel in Slack, it's still your Slack. I never actually get agency at all. And that's the same with even Facebook. Like if I join your Facebook group, I'm in your Facebook group and you can delete it anytime. You can delete all the data in it and I don't have any control. But here, if I create another group, that group is mine. If I'm a leader of a group, that group is mine. Um, so I can be part of your network without being at the mercy of your dictatorship group. And this is subtle but fundamental shift in how the backend is architected, which makes it incredibly innovative. Most software is not made like this. And that means that most software doesn't ever let you actually decentralize power. You can't. Because on some level, there is always an admin who can always kick you out. In Social Roots, you actually can create your own groups, and then those groups can come together into a network of groups. So every one of the groups in this network is autonomous. I don't, like just because they're connected in the Social Roots community doesn't mean that I own them or can delete them or can delete their information or can tell them what to do. We're connected, and that's like how we share information. And how much we share is dependent upon how much we trust each other. Like I might add them to a note, like I might start a conversation across my network of groups. But what I talk about, how I talk about it is going to be dependent on my comfort. I don't have to give them access to everything just to start a conversation.
Actually, and that's actually a good thing that I don't know that you covered. The notes. So a group can start a note and invite other people onto that note, and it's almost like an instantaneous chat room is sort of my gloss on it. But so within and like from the sociocracy standpoint for our different circles, our different guilds, if there's an issue that comes up that is on the space in that space between outreach and heart work, then you have a new note where you invite outreach and heart work into that discussion, and they're having the same conversation in one place. So it's basically creating a room where those overlapping conversations can happen. It doesn't, it's, what Anna was talking about. It's not inviting artwork into outreach or the other way around. It's actually creating a sort of independent space where those conversations can happen.
And you both get to keep your conversation in your group. So when new people come into your group, they see that conversation. But it's a transcluded object, so it's the same conversation in both groups, but both groups feel like it's in their space. And then when one group deletes it, the other group keeps it.
Mm.
And that's how you distribute power. Yeah.
Uh, so I just want to try to paraphrase a part of this to make sure that I understand, and because I'm always already using a kind of language in the Lifeboat Academy, and I want to see how it fits together. So if I understand, a subgroup would be our guilds, and that the groups are not our guilds. So that would be, and is there a way of differentiating a partner and a contact, and an interested, an organization of interest, or are there ways of tagging or labeling the types of relationships between groups? So between subgroups, I think that's just my understanding is that that's just within the Lifeboat Academy, and then groups can come from the Lifeboat Academy, can be outside of the Lifeboat Academy, and then is there a way for me to know what the relationship is with the Lifeboat Academy? That's my question. I figured it
I
out.
love that. That's a great question. So a subgroup is inside of a group. So this is the Lifeboat Academy group. Ronnie and Ben are currently the leaders, so we can look at the directory, and leaders can make other people leaders. And everything, the subgroups are actually inside of this group. So this is the internal space. If you decide you want some external spaces, or maybe a project has gotten so big it needs its own subgroups, then you can create a new group. And then you connect the groups together, and they would show up in this organization tab. And then we would give you a map. Yeah.
How do you do that? Like, how would two groups link?
Can I provide and looking for approval or agreement, provide an example, because there are people already in the Lifeboat Academy who are active and interested in facilitation, but they're not all in the same guilds. But their interaction, it's a cross-guild interaction. So how is there a way of representing that as a separate but connected thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we connect it manually. We haven't made that affordance available in the UI. You believe.
UI is user interface.
Oh yeah, in the actual visible thing. There is a form that I will add to your dashboard that you can use, but you can also just email me, or you can @me in a note. So that is something that doesn't happen that often, so we haven't made it automatic yet. Because those networks tend to form and then kind of, be a somewhat consistent map. So technically that's done by us. It takes like 2 seconds. It's super easy. But in terms of like structurally, how you guys decide when is what and who is where, that's like part of the work together. So that's like one of the fun things about exploring an ecosystem is getting to figure out like what people need from the network, what they want to do together, how they want to be seen on the map. So like, you know, as a facilitator, is it important for them to be seen? Like, do they have a consultancy? You know, do they have a brand that they want to showcase to the network? A lot of times we've found people in our community really care about that. Like maybe that's not even a formal organization. They just have like a project that they're really passionate about and they want people to know what it's called and where it is and how to find it. And so that's one opportunity to provide value to the network is like you get to showcase your work even outside of Lifeboat Academy. Outside of a given project, you get like everyone else gets to see what you're actually up to. So in that case, they would have their own group. So they would create a group. We would add them to the ecosystem map. We would figure out what subgroups that they want to be involved in, those guilds. Like maybe there's a facilitation guild that works across, or sorry, a facilitation group or subgroup that works across any number of organizations. So it's very like fluid, and it's a lot easier to do than it is to talk about because it's kind of organic. It just happens like, oh, we have so many people in this subgroup. Let's make a group. Great. And then it just sort of evolves. And then as things change, our infrastructure is very adaptable. We can just move things around. Yep.
So I'm going to give a concrete example. And Justin, Angela, and Fee are connected to us through another farm that we have a relationship with through Foodlands. So Foodlands represents, I don't know, 15 or 20 community farms around BC who are their members. And each one of them would have, would be a local group, right? Probably have subgroups and projects that they're working on. And there's Foodlands where they, that's a place for them to come together to talk specifically around decolonizing food production, basically. And they may have other groups that they're associated with. And then there's the Lifeboat Academy. And, we're really about kind of the personal relationship building part of building community. So how would something like that, and like Abundance Farm is the one that connected Justin and Angie to us. And so Abundance has their own, it's a CSA, they've got, 150 people that are interested in it. How would we connect with them? Like they'd be a group and we'd be a group. And we'd have our subgroups and they'd have their subgroups. And then what?
Yeah, so they would just connect in your organization. So I would connect them. So as soon as they make a group, you can tell me, like, give me their URL, and I would add them to your directory. And then I would create a visualization for you, and both of your groups would have access to that map on your dashboard.
So then the connections are actually because I'd be able to go and look at Abundance and look at what their groups are. Oh, and I guess actually, so that would be the thing. So if let's just say that Lifeboat does a facilitation group and we open that up. So that would be, we would kind of like tell everybody, hey, for your facilitators, this is going to be like a community facilitation group that will live under the Lifeboat Academy, but it's open to everybody. And then the people that join that group, we'd have direct communication there. But then in the map, we'd be able to see, oh, that's, Justin from Abundance, or, Amir from Abundance is in that group. And then we can see. So that's how that would work.
Yeah. And if you want the facilitation work to be within the Lifeboat Academy context, then you would make it a subgroup. But if you want it to be like outside of your brand, you just want like a general facilitation group community, then we would move it into its own group.
Right. So it could be just a generic facilitation group. And we could have our own Heartwork, our Heartwork Guild, which is facilitation. Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
cool. All right, cool. So you just make another group.
You just make another group and then we just connect them together. And like that sounds really complicated, but I promise you, like it's actually the easy part. It takes no time to create groups or connect groups together. So as it starts feeling right, you just sort of tell me what you need. The actual most important and hardest part, ironically, is making sure every group and subgroup has someone in charge of it that will start conversations that are relevant. So usually it's like the actual most important heartbeat of the network working and functioning is like a consistent drumbeat. It's like every subgroup and group needs to have somebody who understands the context and will keep everyone up to date.
Caretaker.
And that's really like the onboarding process for me is just to make sure that we identify who is going to be in every group and subgroup, who's going to understand their responsibilities around starting those conversations in appropriate contexts and times.
Okay, so can I build on that?
Yeah.
Because in part, I think what is still a bit fuzzy for me is when SocialRoots, when Slack, when something else. And I'll give you a challenge that comes up repeatedly in the Lifeboat Academy, which is we are trying to make sure that we're not dependent on synchronous meetings for all of the conversations. Yet it's still really invaluable to have those synchronous meetings, those real-time meetings. But oftentimes something will come up and we'll say, we need to keep working on that, right? Or we want to get more feedback from the people who weren't here. So a sort of a follow-up on a meeting that would say, here's what we talked about, here are the decisions that we came to, plus next steps. Is that the kind of thing that would work here?
Yeah.
And and just to get really granular, if we had, say we have an agenda, we have 3 things on the agenda, and at one of the meetings, would we want to make each of those different notes, or would we want to have them as one note? Or would it be like how, in terms of how you want people to interact with the notes, is it, how does the conversation continue?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really depends on your context. So, for example, the company that is the co-op that's building SocialRoots is called Wicked Co-op, and we have a subgroup for our stewards meetings. And I'll post in there the meeting notes. Generally, like I might, forget once or twice, but generally, and then any special information that I really think is important, all the stewards know and kind of can go back to and reference easily. So that's like a very like tactical example of like, this is a very tactical, stewardy kind of managerial subgroup where we want to keep the context so as new leaders come in, they can have access to that information. It's not just lost in my email box forever. Or if someone's not at the meeting, like Khalid wasn't at this meeting, and I think that's partly why I included him. He has this in his email box forever. And then people can reply whenever they want to. And some things are just informational and some things kind of spark a lot of activity. So there's the Complexity Wranglers group, Network Commons, Coordinators Commons, that's been like a little more informal. It's not like an organization. And basically, there, Christina's mostly been sending out information about events. And occasionally, like the notes from the events, the write-ups. This one in particular got a lot of activity. People responded to it sometimes weeks later. So she was asking for like speakers. So it's like a little bit of like a internal like conversation, but it's like definitely what I would call evergreen. So the nature of social roots is that it's not real time, which means the information has longevity. It's like made for like weekly, monthly, quarterly. So when we're like talking about something we're working on right now, we're usually in Slack. When we're talking about something I need other projects to know, other groups, something the organization might need to like have on record, then I'll put it in social roots. And if it's a conversation, like it's a group conversation, like I want more people to have access. Like if we put out a blog, or if we need help with something, or if we have a big insight, then I start a conversation. It really should be like it's made to be super, super, super lightweight. Like it should be like half an hour a week tops. Like no one should be spending more than like especially like once we have just an initial lightweight structure, like it's just like you come in, maybe after a meeting, you like summarize a meeting, or you like let people know about an event, or you know, add people to your group or subgroup. But it really is meant to be like more like LinkedIn than like a chat. Does that answer your question?
It's not so much a question as a relatively vague emerging notion. So yes, it did.
Yeah, but you do have to, like for every single subgroup and group, you have to have someone in charge of it, because you're like every single container needs someone to hold that space. To think about what does my little community need to know long term? What do I need to share outside of my little community with others? What is important discussion, or information or context or output that I want to make sure everyone knows. And sometimes people use this listservs for this. So we really do replace listservs.
Can you click on, I just want to show people the dashboard for the subgroups. And there's a dashboard for the group, and then there's also a dashboard for the subgroups. And because as we're talking, I'm thinking that that's the thing too. It really is kind of like a dashboard and almost a record system. Because like I'm just thinking for the guilds, one of the features is in the lower right-hand corner, the current focus. Gives, like, and it's easy to update. So you could, if somebody wanted to know what's Heartwork about, there's the about, the recent notes, which could kind of give the history of the conversations that are happening or the meetings. And then the links where, and it's any link can go in there. So we could also have, I'm thinking, like in the Curiosity Guild, when we're developing the badge proposal, there could be current focus developing the badge, and then a link to the Google Doc that has the current form, the state of that. So it could be this, and then members as well in that, here are the members in this group. So it becomes this really handy way of providing people with a one-stop shop for either if they're curious or if they want to come up to speed. on it. So it's both communication. It's yeah, I'm like I said, I'm still trying to get my head around it's more than just a communication tool. It's actually kind of a knowledge management tool.
Yeah. Yeah. And like it's definitely fractal. So like I can't send a note in your group as a supporter. So it's like made to be like graduated permissions within each subgroup, each group, and each network. Bonnie?
Yeah, that aspect's really cool because we also have a structure that's like that's basically that with how people can participate. Because each guild has a caretaker, which is that leader person that you're talking about. So they would be the person to kind of be the head of the subgroup. And then we have people who are more active and less active, and we have some, labels that we use for that. So I feel like it would be really useful to actually get to apply those, and then people can see who each other are and what roles they have. I also see it as a really useful way to have ongoing discussions. So, like when we have issues come up, we call them tensions. There are tensions that come up periodically, kind of perennially. And so, in a subgroup, we could have a note for a specific tension where we share our considerations, and then we can go back, like that tension comes up again, we can go back and read through. People can read it to like kind of catch up to speed, and then that's a way that we can transparently be sharing like what's going on. um I do have a question. I'm wondering if you could share a bit about the security of the platform. Is it encrypted? Who can see what? Kind of whatever you can share about how all of that works.
Yeah, so we are, just like kind of everything else we do, we're between social media and enterprise. Because by nature, we are a multi-organizational network communication system. You don't want to put internal sensitive data into us because we're not really made to be a silo. So like people can only see the stuff. Like we have like standard security for the kind of product we are. So we're about as secure as Reddit. And in the sense of like, if you're not in a group, you're not going to see the information. You have to be let in. We are email integrated, which means when you send a note through email, that is the least secure possible communication you can have. Anytime you email someone, you should assume it's public. Emails are notoriously insecure. Every server you send an email through the whole country, it just goes from data center to data center to data center. Every single one of those data centers can read all your emails. There's no such thing as a secure email. So we are integrated with email, which means even if we encrypt, as soon as you send a note, you don't have to send notes through email, but as soon as you send a note through email, none of that matters. So I think you should not think of this as an internal tool. You should think of this as like, somewhere you put meeting notes that if it like became visible to someone, it wouldn't cause them to steal your identity. And the other thing about it is these are group conversations. Like some of these conversations are like hundreds of people by their very nature. So like group conversations are just not secure. Oops.
Got it.
But we follow like basic security protocols. We follow the same security protocols of any application out there.
Are there any other questions out there or thoughts? Oh, Milan.
I'm I can be notoriously slow about this stuff, so apologies in advance. So coming back to how to use the dashboard for the subgroups, if I'm a caretaker, I identify myself as a leader, or is it the creator of the group that does that? And likewise, as I on social roots, I have to go in and join a subgroup if I'm part of a subgroup. Is that correct?
That is mostly correct. So I think that the verbiage would be how you guys talk about it from what I could tell is a caretaker is a leader at the subgroup level. So are you a caretaker currently?
Yes, I'm actually the caretaker for the Hard Work and Philosophy Guild. I think Ben and Ronnie kind of populated things, and I didn't know I had to go in and do it myself.
No worries. No, this is why we're doing this call. So, and you are not slow. You're asking such good questions.
Good.
So it looks like you might not be in the group. No, yeah, you're
Yep,
here.
yep.
So if you go in right now, Ben could just drag you into this subgroup if he wants to.
I want to. Hang on.
And you can, and Ben can make you the leader. And then Ben, once he feels comfortable, can actually move his status down so he doesn't show up as a leader anymore. And this is one of the ways that we train people to give away power, is once you set up the space and you get people to understand their role and to really step into that role, then you can step back and Ben can be the leader of the group and you can be the leader of the subgroup or caretaker. And then once you are in the permission level, a leader, Roland, you can, and you'll see a button once you have that permission. Let's see, my group that I'm a leader of, I can show you that.
Anna, how do I do that? How do I go from the group directory, or do I go from the subgroup to add Roland?
Yeah, so go to the subgroup.
Okay.
And there's a little
okay. Okay, there. Got it.
And then you can, because you are the all-powerful leader right now, you can auto add people.
I like it.
You can auto add them and you can decide what permissions. So in this case, I'm going to auto add Boyana. I'm going to make her a leader. I'm going to continue, make sure you confirm. And boom, she didn't have to do anything just because she's in the group already. She now has been made a leader of the subgroup. And then if I realize, oh, actually, I don't like her being a leader anymore, I can remove her. So it's made to be very flexible. You can't do it wrong. If you do something wrong, you can undo it. Don't be afraid to do stuff. Let's see if one of the things is things update within 30 to 60 seconds. So sometimes if something's happening really fast, it looks like Ronnie, you got invited by Ben. Ben was not, he did not drag you in, I don't think.
Oh, you mean Roland was invited?
Oh, Roland, sorry.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So if you get invited to something, you'll get an email and you can click accept on the email. It'll also show up in your pending invitations. This little guy is top left. That's kind of your workspace. That's where your like feed of everything across every group is going to be. And you'll have a list of all your groups and subgroups and all of your invitations.
Okay.
Well, let's see how we did. Did we do it? Not
I just
yet.
clicked on the button in my email.
Perfect. Okay. And
And you
I
just
just
added April too. So
did you see the auto add option?
I
Oops.
did the second time.
The
Yeah.
second time. Okay, so you actually auto added April.
Yeah.
Can you show that again?
Yes. So I'm going to go to my add members at the subgroup level. So the navigation sometimes, it takes a minute to get used to because there's 3 levels and most things don't have 3 levels. But when you're in a subgroup, you're going to see this little arrow to go back up a level. And subgroups don't have logos, they have just a color. So as soon as I'm in the subgroup that I want, I click on the add members. Sometimes there's a lag because
Oh, okay. That was what was happening for me. Okay, now I can add Roland to Outreach.
yeah.
Cool.
Too late.
Hello, you
I can do
guys.
it myself.
Well,
Oh, look at that. All
I'll
the
add
power.
Pamela.
So much power. We made it. So yeah, so this is now your caretaking space where you can continue to build up the membership. So your role here is to make sure that your subgroup has the resources, information, and context to participate.
And
And
I can
so
see
go ahead.
I can see at the top there, besides subgroup members, there's pending invitations, and April's is waiting in there.
Yeah.
Got it.
Well, and you know what what I'm liking about this, because one of the ongoing challenges is people say they're interested and then you don't hear from them again, or and so I like that ability to have the auto add when it's like Roland's a caretaker, but when people say they're interested by giving them the invitation to the subgroup, they have to confirm that, right? And so if they don't confirm, then it's just then that's information. And once they confirm, so they're really opting into the communication. We don't have to worry about we're not annoying anybody by pushing information to them that they don't want. And that's at a subgroup level. So you could join, you could say, yes, I'm going to be a participant in this group, but not this group. And okay, cool.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of opt-in. And the other thing about it is when you send a note, you can choose to send the note quietly. That's actually the default, which means it doesn't get emailed. So if you want to make sure everyone sees something, you can email them. But if it's just like FYI, like here's the meeting notes that I want you to have if you ever are curious, you can you can send the note quietly and then it's in that group container, but it doesn't necessarily email them.
But that would be the weekly summary of activity in your group. You would see that in the summary.
Yeah, whatever it is that you put in the note.
Well, I mean, like even though it's quietly sent, when you get the email, it would be noted in that.
Yeah. There's like a weekly email summary. Yes, that's right.
I do have a feature request actually while we're talking about it, because I think it would be great to have that ability to, like, on this group, I want the weekly summary, and in this group, I'd like the notices when they happen.
Yeah. We do have some of that. So in the settings, there's like ways that you can specify a little bit more. But full disclosure, there is a bug right now we're fixing. So, one of the downsides of being owned by our users is that we don't have VC level budgets to build things as quickly as we want. So that's one of the things we're doing is fundraising right now with grants, but it is, you know, unfortunately, we're in a beta stage, so there's going to be some bugs and limits.
The upside, though, is that we can send you an email and you respond to it.
That's true.
Which
Upside is that, yes.
a really big deal.
And also, your data is not getting exploited, and you get to own your own group, and you can join our co-op, and you can be a co-owner of the tool if you want to be.
So I have a question for Ben, actually. I was in exploring this, can you maybe with an example talk about how you would see us using this? And if you need to think about it, that's okay.
Well, and I think I kind of indicated, I'm still trying to suss that out. And I'm also, I'm thinking about the research project, this larger ecosystem, to use the term, and about, you know, how do we align what we're doing in the Lifeboat Academy with local lifeboats, with Foodlands as a network, with the stuff that's going on in the Southern Gulf Islands around, like my involvement and connect. For those of you who aren't kind of, the background is there's a Southern Gulf Islands community justice program that I'm a really active part of, and that's really about promoting circles and sociocracy as a way of working among community organizations on the Gulf Islands. So it's kind of, I think of the Lifeboat as my global network, and then the CJ program is my regional network. So what I'm trying to figure out, I'm still trying to sort through how would this be useful as a way of integrating these different networks of networks. And I will say, just what, you know, Anna, while I've got you here, you know, April, who we met with, who works with the BC Community Response Network, she has a new position there as we're jokingly calling it the director of everything. But she's one of her tasks is to figure out how to, so right now there are local CRNs in a community. They have regional mentors who might oversee, you know, 5 to 10 of the local CRNs, and there's like 20 mentors. And it's the same issue where in this community under this mentor and in this community under this mentor, they've got the same issue, but they don't have a way of communicating across that right now. So anyhow, April and I are thinking through how this might work in that network. And then I'm thinking through on this, you know, kind of it's a polycentric networks and how this might work. Short answer is I don't know. But I feel like there's some, you know, there's definitely potential here, but it's kind of working out. And I think part of it is also, I think we want to come up with protocols, like a standard protocol of this is when it's a note, this is when it's a link, these are the, you know, so that we get some consistency about how each of us is using it. And, you know, I think the only way to do that is a little trial and error, but really be thinking about, you know, when does, and actually, I think after this conversation, I'm hoping the Outreach Guild will have a further conversation about what makes sense to us in terms of, you know, how do we use it?
Yeah, the things I've seen work really well is so it's that 1-9-90, right? It's like the 1%, the kind of people who are the core are usually like the organizational leads. They're like in charge of the Lifeboat Academy. Getting those caretakers to step up and to really own their space and to create that structure. So it's really about having an understanding of cadence. How often does that group meet? How often do you need to communicate? Is it once a week? Is it once a month? Is it once a year? What is the natural cadence of that work? Right? So that's the first question to answer for any subgroup. Once you understand that, then the next question is what is the goal of that subgroup? Is it to create a paper? Is it to make a decision? Is it to host meetings? Right? And so the note is the output of that goal. So some of my groups, the goal is to host monthly meetings, and the notes are invitations to meetings and summaries of meetings. Some of my subgroups, the goal is to hold space for learning. So the notes are monthly conversations of what we learned that month and an invitation to talk about it. So once you figure out the goal of any given group or subgroup, and then the frequency of activity, you can start to make protocols. Yeah.
Okay. I was I went in and I started to join the subgroups, and how do I go from being a supporter to a participant? Because I've gone to the dashboard and I look at the members, see all members, and then there's the three little dots on the side next to supporter, but then the leader and participant options are grayed out.
Yeah. So
I
this
know,
is.
I know. Can I
Oh, go
say?
ahead. Yeah.
So the leader of each subgroup can designate who is in what role. So for outreach, I checked and I added you as a participant. So in finance and legal, Ben will need to go in and adjust your setting to participant. And likewise, you, Roland, once you're a leader of heart work, then you get to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
it?
And if you are a participant, you can make other people participants,
Oh, okay.
but you can't make them leaders and you can't remove them. So you could also ask any participant to make you a participant.
So you can kind of reach down and pull people up, but you can't reach up and pull people down.
Yeah. And if you ever have trouble, get stuck, you can just, maybe what I'll do is I'll start a note in the maybe help desk group. Is that okay? Is that a good place?
Yeah, that
I noticed that the help desk group in
Oh,
terms
it's
of
locked.
membership is locked. Yeah.
I can't see it, so it must be secret.
No, there's no secret groups.
Oh, I see it now. Never mind.
how do I unlock it? Is it
Settings.
settings? Okay.
Oh, it's private. Okay.
Ah, got it. Okay, I see. It's open.
Yes. Might have to refresh.
Mm-hmm.
Join subgroup. So Ben, if you make me a participant, I will start a note. And if you have any trouble, you can reply to that note. I'll also put my email in there so you can email me if it's really urgent.
You're already in. I see. Oh.
And maybe what I'll do is I'll email it just so that you guys can see how it works. Feel free to reply from your email directly, just sort of to feel it out. Once, maybe Roland, once you join, I'll find out. So I know we're probably over time. Any, I guess maybe what I can do is check in a little while to see what you guys's cadences are, so I know how to support you best.
Well, I can tell you, because we do have standing meetings, all of the guilds meet every 2 weeks, including our coordination circle. So that is the pulse. And then we have fractal pulses, because we do annual planning with quarterly reviews, with seasonal reviews. And then we have bi-weekly meetings or fortnightly meetings.
And is this
So
like internal planning for the Lifeboat Academy?
yeah.
Is there such
Well,
a thing
each of the
as
guilds, so we use sociocracy. So basically we do an AGM kind of event. We call it our design charrette. So we do our design charrette where we task it out and we set goals for each of the guilds. And then the guilds develop their work plans around those goals.
cool? So I mean, you could post the summary of the coordination meeting in the group in a note if you wanted to.
I have another question about participants and supporters and all that. Is there a way if I go into a subgroup and I join it and I'm just listed as a supporter, and it just stays there, and I have no easy way of communicating with the caretaker or the leader. Is there an easy way for me to say, hey, let me in?
You can
Or
reply to a note. So you can't start notes, but you can participate in existing notes.
okay.
Sometimes what I do in, like gonna do in that help desk group is leave a note open that's like for anyone who needs anything. But I find anytime someone replies to a note, that gets seen at some point, and the whole group sees it, so any participant can help you, which is kind of cool.
One of the other things too that is that we've had a conversation around is the notes also. There's a desire to kind of upgrade the functionality of the notes. And right now there's an action request and there's a couple different ways that you can indicate, respond to it. I think there is an intention to make that a little bit more robust, which I am fully supportive of. But I think that that's one of the ideas behind this is it goes beyond just like, here's information. There's actually like a reciprocity tool there. Like you can say action required, and we can set part of our internal protocol that, if you've seen it, if you've seen the note and you can't help, click this button, and that indicates that that you've responded. So we're not waiting for, to know where people are.
I like that.
Yeah, and the hope is that we will be able to also show like optionally on your profile when you have helped. So like if someone asks for help and you help, that becomes part of your profile so that you can start getting credit. But for now, like there's just the opportunity to indicate if you want to help or if you need help. And then if someone indicates, hey, I need help, everyone can see that. So, and then there's a lag like with most things, but yeah. And they can do that from their email, like the button from their email is functional.
All right. Well, yeah, we are, I guess, kind of getting towards the end of time. So any last burning questions, comments, observations, etc.?
Thanks. And is it Anna?
It's Anna.
Anna.
And it's Roland.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't hesitate to, I'll write that note up and join that help desk subgroup, and feel free to bug me, or if you want to email me directly, you can also email me directly. But
And I just wanted to take the opportunity to say I am like 3 significant emails behind on stuff that you've been sending out that I want to be part of, but I am working on a deadline that is next Tuesday. So right now, what is ordinarily a bit of a messy inbox is just like a complete disaster zone. But I just had such a great time at that last the network of networks, learning thing, and I definitely want to follow up on a bunch of things there. So, and a couple other projects that are all interesting things that you might want to be part of.
okay, I can include the help desk subgroup in announcements if the rest of the team wants to hear about any of that. Is that interesting to do? Like if we have a network of network events again, would that be a subgroup, the help desk subgroup, would that be a place to put that?
Actually, I wonder, that would be kind of cool to have like just like a network announcements subgroup that you could join that if you want to get updates on things. I will, for people who don't know, there's you've got like 3 different things, because there's like the learning community, the networks learning community, and then there's also the Wicked co-op stuff that's happening. And the last meeting was talking about and there were 50 people there. There were 100 people that were signed up for it. Lots of people that are doing really interesting things around networks and talking about how do we bridge these gaps. So there's really interesting conversations going on, and a lot of potential, I think, in terms of and I think that what I kind of got was these are all people that are wanting to work in the style that we work. It's really about collaboration. It's learning about and it's the new culture kind of stuff. Like, that was part of that conversation. It's not just about mechanisms. It's really about how do we develop the tools as people in the community to be able to, integrate and organize. So it's really cool stuff.
I will try to make it available to you all as it comes up.
Well, I guess, are we good? Should we just do we often close with around a checkout, and my standard question is last thoughts for the good of the Roland, you wanted to say something?
I can start.
Okay, cool. Last thoughts for the good of the cause, and we'll just kind of popcorn over to you.
And I need a practical, something practical to figure out what to do with this. So I'd like to propose that the caretakers talk about it at the next
Coordination circle.
What are we calling it?
Coordination circle.
Coordination circle. Wow. So that we have sort of like a starter project to play with and to start figuring things out. So that is my proposal. That is my last thought. So next on my screen is the Friends of the Lifeboat Academy is recording this call. No, sorry, it's Justin, Angela, and Ophelia.
My last thoughts are I've got a lot of learning to do, and as always, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for your time, Anna, and everybody for showing up. And I'm excited to noodle around, have something new to noodle. I I never know how to pick who's next.
Can't get it wrong.
Okay, Ronnie.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anna. I'm really excited about figuring this out together, and it seems like maybe a pretty big missing piece for us in terms of really bringing the network to a visible next level, not just to be able to see it, we've mapped it, but actually for people to be able to engage in a streamlined way. So this is a really, really cool creation. So thank you for bringing it to us, and yeah, looking forward to the emergence of it. And I'll pass it to Pamela.
I'm glad I came along on this ride to get used to a little bit of what I've been hearing about and peeking into and having no idea what it's about. So this gives me a slightly better notion of what it is that's going on. But it's still like, whoa, steep curve for me. And I was noodling around, going back and forth with the sun. I'm wondering, like, where does the sun fit in with this? But I didn't want to bring that into this because I feel that's a different conversation, and all things will be revealed in their good time. So thank you for accepting my voyeurism, and I appreciate the enthusiasm. Obviously, there's something very meaty here, or you wouldn't have the engagement that you do have with the Lifeboat Corps people. So interesting to see how this actually feels once the cart is pushed onto the road, or whatever metaphor you want to use. So who's next? Who hasn't gone yet?
Anna.
Anna, you haven't. And thank you, Anna. You've obviously worked very hard, and I appreciate your communication of this.
Thank you, guys. I guess my takeaway would be it's a socio-technical stack. So some of it is figuring out the communication and the protocols of the people part of it. And once that's figured out, the technology actually ends up being pretty straightforward. That's the easy part. So that's my takeaways. I know like people get anxious about technology, but I promise you that's the easy part of this work. And I really, really appreciate your guys' time. And I really, really love getting input and getting to co-design this with people who are doing it, who are living this way.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that's my final thought too, is it's so, I think it's a really good question about Sana and what its role is. And, you know, that's something that we've adopted because we could kind of make it work. And I think that this is exciting to me because I've had the pleasure of having like a lot of the background information around SocialRoots and the theory behind it and where it comes from and the research that's gone into it. And the frustration, I think, for most of us with technology is that you're delivered this is how it works, and these are the buttons, and this is, and you know, you pour yourself into it. And I feel like this is actually software that is being developed for how we want to work. And I think that's all the research and the understanding. It's deceptively simple. You know, it's like there's a lot of stuff going on to get this one little screen. You know. Anyhow, so I'm excited to see where it goes, and everything's an experiment, and it's all a moving target. Anyhow, thank you all for your time, and we'll see you around. So bye for now.
Thank you.